Hello and welcome. If this is your first time here, my name is Courtney, and in today's video, I'm so excited to share with you 6 books that have tremendously helped me along my spiritual journey. If you yourself are curious to learn more about spirituality and really what a spiritual journey entails, learning the principles and lessons along this path, then definitely stick around because we are diving into today's video. So this is a video I've been wanting to make for a really long time because I've read these books years ago and they've always been like the ones that I tell all my friends to read. They're just really good, kind of like basic and also like medium level like education on spirituality, your spiritual journey and all that good stuff. So I wanted to just sit down and have like an honest, real conversation with you and go over these books that I think can tremendously help you along your spiritual journey. Alrighty, so we're just going to dive straight into this list. This first author is literally my go-to, probably my favorite for really diving into higher knowledge, self-development, consciousness, and really just an amazing spiritual teacher, and that is Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart Tolle has a lot of books out there, but the 2 I'm going to be recommending to you is A New Earth and The Power of Now. If I had to recommend like an order in which to read these books, I would definitely say starting with A New Earth, and then when you're done with this one, start The Power of Now. He also has other books that you can read. You don't have to do it in this particular order, but I find it to be kind of nice starting with this book first. In A New Earth, he writes in a way that you see yourself outside of your body like an energetic being because you are. He talks about how our ego controls us so much, and when we truly detach from the ego, we are literally experiencing life. Something that he talks about in A New Earth is our pain body, and this is really like our shadow, our shadow self, and how we have to integrate our shadow in our spiritual journey. We have to recognize it, and he talks about it so beautifully and so easy. Like if you are a little confused on what your shadow means, when he talks about the pain body, you'll instantly get it and you'll understand, what shadow work is. This book is very eye-opening. It's a beautiful introduction to what consciousness is, what spirituality is, how we are literally these beings on earth. We feel this out of body experience, but yet being able to control and kind of like train our brains and also to live a life that we love because we are in charge. We're in power to do that. We can control our thoughts and our reality to manifest the life of our dreams. And it really starts with understanding, how precious and how life truly is a gift, and that when we are awake, when we're present in the moment, we receive that abundance. We can elevate to that next level, and that's really what The New Earth, to me, what I really got out of that book. Okay, let's now switch over to the other Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now. This was the second book I read from him, and I really, really loved it. Something that I thought was cool about this book is that there are symbols throughout this book that literally mean to stop, to pause, take a breath, and really digest what you just read, because this book can be a little complex. Just really like absorbing that information, learning that information, you kind of do want to sit with it for a minute before you continue on. This book goes over a lot of the same principles as A New Earth, but it really is talking about all our relationships that we have and how we choose to go about living our life first, and how that will affect all of these relationships and like this exterior of our life. It also talks a lot about enlightenment and this quest of enlightenment, and I would say some argue that we will never reach enlightenment in this lifetime, but it is something that a lot of people strive for. So enlightenment is a topic that's in this book a lot. I feel like my biggest takeaway or my favorite part about this book was the last chapter, which was all about surrender. And I personally believe that surrendering is a really hard part during our spiritual journey. And when we are trying to manifest something into our life, or we want to go in a forward path, like we want to continue to strive to kind of like feel good in our body, there is this element of surrender. And I think it's really hard for a lot of people to grasp what it truly means to surrender. And Eckhart, just the way he works his magic and the way he talks, you just truly understand the concept of letting go and letting the universe kind of do its thing, and that you again are co-creating with the universe. It's so beautiful, and I definitely recommend this book if you are starting your spiritual journey. Okay, I love this book so much, and I feel like I haven't really seen anyone ever talk about this book. I was like at Barnes and Noble, and I was looking at like self-development, like spiritual books, and I saw this book and I was really drawn to it. And it is called Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self by Sananya Roman. Probably butchered your name, I'm so sorry. But I love like the front cover of this book too. It really like drew me in when I saw it. This book is really such a wonderful guide in navigating your spiritual awakening. We learn about what the higher self is, about our vibration, light energy, consciousness, learning about the void, concept of time, and so much more. Each chapter gets better and better. It's really hard to put this book down once you start reading it. I'm not even kidding. It was like so many things were clicking for me when I was reading this book and reflecting on my thoughts that I had been thinking during my awakening. It was kind of like opening up and starting down my spiritual path. I was getting flooded with so many new ideas, thoughts, beliefs, opening to new behaviors, and feeling naturally drawn to do these things that were talked about in this book. It felt like while I was reading this book, I was like having so many synchronicities, like just like I would read a chapter and then that day, like the things that I learned about in that chapter would happen. It just felt like such a spiritual connection. Like it was such a divine, thing for me to get this book while I was going through my spiritual awakening. So if you are currently like on your spiritual awakening, like you're going through it and you just want some guidance, I definitely recommend getting this book. It really is like one of my favorite spiritual books that I've ever read. So definitely check it out. Okay, so this next author I love so much. She has been such a light in my life and such a teacher to me, and that is the wonderful Gabby Bernstein. Now, I want to recommend 2 books from her. I've read 3 of her books, and I don't have one of them with me because I loaned it to a friend, and that is The Universe Has Your Back. But I do have this book physically with me, and that is Super Attractor. Gabby is someone that I have loved learning her teaching methods, just the way she goes about talking about spirituality, how we have, this divine connection with the universe, and honestly, these innate manifesting abilities within us. If you are someone who's looking to tap into more manifesting, and just kind of like seeing how your spiritual journey interweaves with what you're calling in, you will love Gabby Bernstein. Like I said, I've read 3 of her books, and I definitely recommend starting with The Universe Has Your Back. Read that one first. I'm pretty sure Gabby recommends reading that one first too. Second book, definitely read Super Attractor. I believe she recommends that as the second book to read too. And then if you want to read another book that I personally read, A Course in Miracles is really good. If you love challenges, it's like a 30-day challenge to help you like manifest or just feel like a higher vibration in your life. I definitely recommend that book as well. Really at the core of all of her books is this trust in yourself and your journey. A lot of manifestation talk, like I said, and how spirituality really interweaves in those lessons and teachings. Gabby is like your best friend giving you advice on your spiritual journey, and the examples that she talks about in her real life and just like with the people that she's met and helped, it just makes you feel like you're not alone, and that means something. I feel like a lot of times we feel alone on our spiritual journey, and when we pick up a book or we connect with an author and they are literally writing these words that you feel so connected to and you just really resonate with what they're talking about, it just makes you really like believe in yourself and in your path and having faith. And Gabby Bernstein, I just love her. I love all of her books, read all of her books, honestly. But yeah, I had to mention her on this list because she is such an inspiration to me. Alrighty, so for this next book, I'm not gonna lie, I actually haven't finished it yet, but it is so good, especially if you are someone that loves really diving into science, learning about the science of like metaphysical, spiritual, or alternative healings. I know a lot of times when it comes to those topics, people will discredit them because they bring up the whole, science, element, not enough science to back this up. Well, this book, Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza, has a lot of evidence and a lot of studies that he's done that can tremendously help someone and open someone up to a whole new world of really the power of our mind. This book shows proof and evidence of people working with Dr. Joe Dispenza and really changing their lives by doing exercises like mind exercises that help them manifest their outcomes. This book is really all about getting clear on your intention, programming your conscious mind, believing this change has happened, and repeatedly practicing and revisiting this future state. And the results are amazing. This book is truly a wealth of knowledge. Like I said, I feel like bad that I haven't finished it yet, but from what I've read so far, I'm at least more than halfway through this book. It is amazing to read these stories and these studies of people really like adapting, different mindset behaviors and seeing these drastic changes in their life. And it's just amazing. And if you are someone that does like to see kind of like more science evidence or what have you, or you just like learning about science, what have you, this book you will love so much, and I'm excited to continue to read it. So yeah. Alrighty, so I have one more book to share with you. I saved the best for last, and I also have a small, tiny little story about this book before I go into explaining about it. And that is, I love this book so much. I read it a couple years ago, and it's been one of my favorites. And when I was getting ready to film this video, I went in my closet, that's where I keep all my books, and I could not find it. And I was like, where is the Celestine Prophecy? And I honestly have tore up my apartment. I cannot find it. I did move from apartment to apartment in the last year, so I don't know if it got caught up in the shuffle, but to be honest, what I truly believe is that this book left my life to enter into someone else's life that needed to read that story because it is so good and so powerful. But lucky me, I have the guidebook that goes along with the Celestine Prophecy. When I was looking for this book, they were together, like right next to each other in the bookstore. So I was like, I'm just gonna buy both of them. And I'm so glad I did because this guidebook is honestly amazing to read while you are reading the Celestine Prophecy. The Celestine Prophecy is a fictional story, but it has real spiritual lessons, which are called insights in the story. The character is undergoing a spiritual awakening, and it really is pure magic during his journey. The writing is so good. It's such a good story, and there are a lot of similarities that we personally go through during an awakening that is talked about in the book. I'm really glad that I ended up getting this guidebook because it helps you dive into the lessons and the insights that the book talks about even deeper. It's like you really understand the meaning, why it was talked about in the book, and how it really reflects real life. This is definitely a book for someone out there that loves to read a good story. It's fiction, so I think it's a good one to have on this list because it's just that one book that you can go to that you can get lost in. You feel like you're really in the story. The writing is so good. It takes place in Peru. It's such a good book. It's so amazing. It definitely stuck with me. I've read it, I think I read it like 3-4 years ago, and I've always just loved this book. So if you can find the Celestine Prophecy, definitely get that book. And if by any chance you find the guide to go with it, I think that's a great addition to having just the book. Alrighty guys, so that is it for today's video. I went over all of my books that have really helped change my life and elevated my life and just been a really big part in my spiritual journey. These are all my favorite spiritual books that I've read so far. If you have a book that has really helped you along your spiritual journey, I would love to hear the recommendation down in the comments, and I'm sure someone in this growing community would love to check out that book as well. Let us know the name, the author, maybe a little sentence or two of what this book kind of like did for you. Could definitely make this like a community, aspect, little book reading list that we could have going on here. So I'd love to see that. If you liked today's video, please give it a big thumbs up. If you are new here, I would love it if you subscribed. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you in my next one.